What's the story, guys? I just want to do a vid to weigh in on this Elon Musk story and his attempt to take over Twitter. He made a bid today for the entire ordinary stock of Twitter for $54.20 a share. And it set the cap on the pigeons out on social media. And I've just been watching YouTube all day. There's been a load of videos on it. But an awful lot of these guys seem to be coming more from a comment side of things as opposed to the actual business side. And while I'm no Elon Musk, I have done share trading since about 2009. And at that time, I've seen everything from reverse stock splits to consolidations to corporate takeovers to buyouts to hostile takeovers to liquidations. Now, I will preface what I'm about to say that I'm coming from an Irish perspective, but I'm pretty sure, thanks to the globalised world, that corporate business practice is pretty much universal. So when you hear commentators saying he should buy 52% of the company and they'll be able to do what he wants, I don't think he can do that, because I know definitely in Ireland, the absolute most you can buy is 30% of a company. And once you get the 30%, then you are compelled by law to make a bid for the entire stock. And in fact, once you get to 80%, you can compulsorily purchase the shares of people who don't want to sell. That's happened to me before. And anyone in Ireland who had Aircom shares know what I'm talking about there. So this is why, if you look around the world, the absolute most you will see a major shareholder in the company will have will be 29.9%. If they want to control the company, that's what they'll amass. And for those wondering, I think that's exactly why Elon has gone straight into the full buyout mode instead of just building up his stock. He's got the 9%. That allows him to call an EGM, or Extraordinary General Meeting. Now, most major shareholders in companies have that. They generally use that as an excuse to get a director on the board that represents their interests. That's kind of what Twitter was trying to do to him in the first place. But as you've seen from the news that's come out, that would just limit him. He can't actually do anything really of any great worth in the place. He has far more power as a shareholder. And like I said, if you look at other directors around the world who want to control a company without actually owning it all outright, that's the way they do it. You know, like if you've got like the 29.9% ownership, that usually entitles you to have 3 board members on the board. So like I said, I just want to address some of the things that I've been hearing on YouTube today. Like some people have been saying that, well, for instance, Tim Pool just did a video where he revealed that I think Goldman Sachs has been taken on by Twitter to try and advise on this issue. And they're trying to put forward a story now saying that the 54.20 is a lowball offer, despite the fact that Goldman Sachs themselves, in their own report on it, say that it's an underperforming company and that their share price that they picked themselves last quarter was $30 a share. And a lot of people have been making noise about, you know, how this time last year it was worth $70 a share. But the way it works in business, that doesn't matter. What matters now is how the company is performing today and what its prospects are. So seeing as Goldman Sachs themselves have decided it's only worth $30 a share before Elon got involved, the fact that he's offering 54 looks like a really good deal. Now, this doesn't stop the board turning around and advising the shareholders to reject the offer. But this is the important thing here. The directors actually don't have any real power over this, because the deal is being offered to the shareholders by Elon, not the directors. So they can freely reject it. You know, like all Elon's got to do is call an EGM, put his offer on the table, and then it's up to the shareholders to decide whether they take it or not. And in that place, usually what happens if they reject their board's advice, they generally resign en masse. That's what's happened before in companies I've seen. There was a reverse takeover in a company I've got shares in about 6-7 months ago. Basically what happened was the large shareholder owns 24% of that company. The company's been floundering for years. They made a complete mess of what they were doing. He went in, wanted to actually install 3 members for himself that would give him control of the board. You know, like, and then enough of the ordinary shareholders came in behind them, and basically I think it was like 70% voted for it in the end. That was a case where the board actually advised rejecting the demands of that major shareholder. They failed miserably, so they all resigned. So you could see the exact same thing happen right here. We could have a situation where Elon just calls an EGM, puts the offer to the major shareholders, which is like BlackRock and Vanguard, I believe. These guys aren't social justice warriors. They're in it for the money, particularly BlackRock. So if Elon can make a compelling case to them that he can make more money, they'll roll right in with him. And you could see a situation where in basically one day, the entire board of Twitter will be forced to resign and Elon Musk will end up owning the place. The important thing to remember here as well is something a lot of people aren't talking about. And it's the nature of EGMs or AGMs, annual general meetings themselves. Basically, 50% of people don't bother their arse turning up, or even sending their proxies in by vote, mainly because it's the institutional investors that pretty much call the sway in the company. So you look at Elon, he owns 9% of Twitter. I think BlackRock owns 5%. I think Vanguard owns 4%, something like that. So if they decide to take a position against something you're interested in, which are 6, 7, 8, 9 1,000 shares maybe, they're always going to swamp you. There's no way you do it. So a lot of people just don't bother turning up. And to be honest, there's a lot of people who are just happy to have the shares in order to flip them down the road once they've made a target price they think they're going to get. Now, the ramifications of this is important, because what that effectively means is that even though Elon only owns 9% of the company, it's 9% of the total stock, which means when he goes to an EGM, if 50% of people aren't turning up, he's effectively got 18% of the company. And if Twitter decides to play hardball and he ends up purchasing up to, say, 29.9%, then that's effectively a near 60% voting power that he has in any EGM or any AGM, like I said, based on the fact that half the people just don't turn up. So even though he's making a lot of noise now about buying the company out totally and taking it private, right now he's got the power to, like I said, if he builds up to that stake, to just run it by himself the way he wants. He can table all the motions he wants. He can get his way done pretty much unassailed. Like I said, I've seen this before. We had a major billionaire in Ireland who owned 29% of a major newspaper. Remember, a lot of people know who I'm talking about there. I'm not going to name him because you tend to get in trouble. But he basically controlled that newspaper output and its direction based on that, solely on that small direction. And I think he just aligned with one other director who owned like 8%. That basically meant every vote they won. So there's actually scope here for Elon to take control of this company through many different ways. So when you see somebody like Kramer on CNBC saying that the board should reject this offer, you're like, doesn't make a difference. They're not the ones who matter. It's the shareholders that matter in the end. Elon's the biggest one. And the other guys that are there, they're not exactly social justice warriors. In fact, some of them have rather nasty reputations. So if they decide there's money in it, it's going to happen. So I just wanted to give you my 2 cents on one of the biggest stories today, which was Elon Musk, his attempted buyout of Twitter, from the perspective of somebody who's actually been involved in share trading. Like I said, maybe there's different rules in the States, it could be, but I'm pretty sure they've globalized this. I'm pretty sure it's the same rules everywhere. That's why in Africa you see the exact same thing happening that's happening in Europe. And I can't imagine America would want to be left out of that globalized market. So from what I can see, he's pretty much got it in the bag if he wants it. The price is decent for what it was operating at before. The board not only can't do anything, if he gets his way, will probably resign. And Musk doesn't even have to raise capital in order to do this. He can do it out of his own wealth. So this is only like a week into this whole affair. This is the big major thing where he said he's going to buy it. We'll probably see a lot of shenanigans in the next week or two as they play back and forth, because there's definitely 4D chess going on here. I bet there's a lot of guys on Twitter sweating. And they do seem to have been definitely manoeuvred into a corner. So there you go, guys. There's my take on what's going on with Elon Musk and his attempted buyout of Twitter. It's going to be interesting days ahead. If you like this, like and subscribe and let us know what you think about the whole affair.